Hello and welcome to Wines and Spirits, where I take you across the ghostly plains of good old Blighty in search of Britain's most haunted pub. Each week we will take you to several different pubs. Some will be visited by our intrepid crew, and one will be visited by myself and a paranormal investigator. To start tonight off, we've gone to Stockport and the White Lion.
The majority of pubs will always house some form of energy, regardless, whether paranormal, residual, or just created by essences by ourselves from the emotions incorporated in the building anyway. One here particularly seems to house them from different periods in time. So there'd be more, we believe there's more than one, say, active spiritual energy here. The lady, children, maybe somebody else, a strange figure that was seen coming up from the cellar, disappearing through the door. Voices have been heard here. Artifacts have been thrown at staff here, so and the historical values mixed with that warrants an investigation. Spirit cupboard is situated down in the cellar. It's just a little room with a door, it's closed, and they use it. The staff here use it for stocking, like a little stock room. It's believed that the staff have said that when they've ventured into that room, artifacts have been thrown at them.
I've been working here now for about 5 years on and off. A couple of things that have happened recently to myself. I've been in the spirit cupboard, which is quite a large room. I've been stood at one side and I've actually had bottles hit me on the back from the other side of the room. One of the other things that springs to mind is during an investigation in the cellar. I've had what I could all describe as a person in front of me, again, which is rather scary to have experienced. And I had to leave the room at that point of the investigation and cut stairs. It was just scary, it was cold, it was not very nice. Yeah, there's a few stories off, quite a lot of stories off ex-members of staff. They've seen actual people, they've seen the physical form of people, they turn around to serve them and the person has just disappeared, or the pub has not been open and the cleaners have been in and there's been someone wander past. Animals as well as people up in the flat. They've heard dogs barking when they don't own a dog, things like that. A lot in the cellar, voices, again, voices screaming when there's been nobody else in the building. It is quite a quiet building when it comes to the outside. You can't hear outside from down in the cellar. So obviously when you hear a scream, it's a little bit worrying.
We've been here and visited before because of reports that we've had. I think the most, for me personally, is the movement of the wooden object, which was down in the cellar. And this piece of wood just lifted and dropped back down again. There was nobody else in the room or especially in that area that could have done that. It's a very old building, the cellar's very old, so we know there was no wires or trickery on that. But for a piece of wood, and there was a big thick piece of wood to lift, it took some force. In the cellars there's an old sink with an old tap, and one of the members of staff she's not here any longer, unfortunately. She told us about there was this residue goo sort of, that's all we can explain it as really, that was hanging from the taps. That seemed to produce itself every time we visited. The staff here had it analysed or had it checked, and these people had said, well, we don't know what it is, we just have to put it down to fungus or something, but they didn't know what it were. And then it would disappear on its own as quickly as what it arrived, you know, so it just is very, very strange. So, and it's the same on the walls as well, which was a different type of, more like a fungus on the walls, and we was told again on that period that shouldn't be there, and it's been tested and it's been sprayed and it's this, that, and you know, and again that would appear and then disappear afterwards. We know, well, we believe that the lady upstairs here hung herself on the stairway from being broken-hearted over the death of a lover. It's thought to be that it could be related in some way to a death that occurred in the cellar, maybe 1600s, where a footman or a servant, a coachman or a servant may have lost their life by being bludgeoned to death, been hit on the head with an heavy instrument and left down there to die.
I'm fine with working here. It doesn't bother me, it's something that you get used to, really. It does make you jump and it does scare you a bit sometimes, like getting a bottle thrown at you, but it is something you get used to, yeah. The ghost walks that we have in Stockport, they obviously come round to see and be told about what does happen here, which obviously is good for us, and it does give us that little bit of a thing that the place is haunted.
I was taking one party upstairs to the top floor, and I meet him at the main staircase. I was telling the tale, the first part. I told him that and took him into the old clock tower room to carry on. Then suddenly, one of the door in there flew open, and one member said, "Oh, it's a good effect." She went to check it, and it wasn't wired, and there was no one in there. So that was an interesting place. We know a young lady who used to work here who has had an experience with the light lady. She was saying she was working behind the bar and she felt blows in her ear and a tug, but at the corner of her eye, also seeing the figure drift past her down to where the pool table is. Yeah, it has got to be one of the most active pubs I've been in for a long time, and also one of the most active ones on the ghost walks, because it never lets you down on the night of the ghost walk, so it is one of the best.
Now I think you'll agree that's one very scary pub. But join us after the break, where I'll be taking you to the Queen's Head, and we are still in Stockport.